Hi, this is Justin with More Business Today, and in this video we're going to cover sliders, image sliders. So I'm going to use this row here to add the slider, so delete it, delete these other elements out of here, and add element. One of your options here is the slider, image slider, right here. Chances are if you're editing a slider, this is how you add one, but chances are if you're editing one, then this part isn't necessary. I will note that this is this actual row is laid out for something different, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete this row, and we're going to just do a new row for it. Image slider. This will be better. So when you put the image editor in there, or the slider in there, then it automatically comes up with the slider window. And in the design, you can edit things like whether the image fills the slider, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Whether it automatically plays, that's something that's important generally. And whether you hide the slider content. So we'll go through that. We add images, and I should mention too that you can add images. You can select multiple images. And it'll automatically put them in here. Now for each one, we can click on edit. And we have two different layouts. You have the layout like this, where it has a button and a text, which we don't have to show, as actually three elements. It has a title, has a description, and it has a button. Now we can turn off any of those items. But that's what's in there. So and then the second option is it just has a caption. It just has room for text to go down at the bottom. But that's the content that it's asking if you want to hide on the other screen. So if I delete the text out of the button, it goes away. Something. And then if I want to edit the button and where it goes, I click on edit. Well, no, this does the color and stuff like that for the button. The URL that's connected to it is edit slide link is right here, because they can click really anywhere on the slide. They don't have to click on the button. So this is the same kind of stuff. If you looked at the links one, then it's the same kind of stuff from the links video. Exactly the same. The other thing that you'll notice here is that this image is really bright, and this image isn't as bright. And that is in the design side. One of your options is I take it back, it must be in the individual slides. Color overlay, here it is. So it's a color overlay is what makes it so that it's not I'm just gonna refresh it. It's the color overlay that makes it dim, and that's so that the text will show up on it, because if it's too bright, then it won't. So color overlay off or on is one thing, and you can see the text gets way washed out if you turn it off. Another option is that you can actually change the color of it. So you could go the opposite way, you make it even brighter, or you could use a specific color to give it a hint. And this is the opacity of it, which means, you know, how see-through it is. And so the more opaque it is, then the less you can see the image behind it. So I'm just going to leave it for now. Now I wanted to go back to, well, I wanted to mention this too. You can go just at the bottom, you can go to next slide, which makes it easy when you're editing the slides. So you go through and you're making the changes, you make the changes and then go to the next slide. It's really easy that way. Now going back to the design and the show navigation arrows, that's the arrow when it happens when you highlight it, shows the arrow. Autoplay is pretty self-explanatory. It makes the slide run. Image fill slider is a little harder to explain, but basically what it does is it resizes the image so that it fits, fits the slider. Otherwise, like different images that are different size don't use up the whole slider. So you can see that these are all basically the same size, so they end up being square in the middle, but they're not filling up the slider. So you look at that in comparison to we go and we do image fill slider, done. And I'll mention too that the reason I have to reload here is just because I'm recording a video and running this at the same time. It's just a lot for my computer. Now, one note about this is that you can look at it and go, okay, well, yeah, it's better with the images going all the way across, but like the bicycle in the beginning here is all cropped out, and that's not really where we want it to be. Well, that goes back to our editor. We go back here, edit, and edit image. Now we know that we want this to be a more landscape version of it, so we can crop it, and we just drop it right down like that. Personally, I'd probably crop out part of the cement too, but crop it down. Now you can get even more fancy. Cancel out of this. If you look at the height, it's 350. The width is going to be 960. That's the standard width here. So this image slider is 960 by 960 by 350. So that would take a little math. I probably would just play with it because it's gonna crop it. It's gonna fit it, and like this is 800 pixels, so it's not really. It's gonna stretch it regardless. But you know that you want it to be smaller than 350. Save. And now you can see that it's fitting better here. So you can play with those. You can edit the text, edit the title. This edit here lets you change the size. So here's the title, and then you can hit the edit. You can change the fonts and the size of the text. So you can increase the size. You can change the color. I wouldn't change the color in this case, but you could. You make it bold. Change the font family, like I said. So there's a lot of really cool fonts in here, so you could play with that. One note about fonts is that you don't want to use a lot of different kinds of fonts on the site. Also, those changes are only affecting the first one, but see how it says slide title is way fancier now. So I think that's all I'm going to cover on the slider for now. It's a pretty cool little tool that we'll use a lot. A lot of times what you'll want to do is you'll want to add a slide for each page or your core pages of your site, so using some kind of image that really plays to it will make a big difference. The other thing is that a lot of times on the row, and we clear the padding on this, which makes it fit nicer. It doesn't matter as much on this demo theme, but just to give you an idea what it might look like. And then you pick out an image that goes to like about, and then you'd hit you'd have the link go over so that the slider is doing something other than taking up space on your site there. So that's all for sliders. Thanks.